Hello guys, welcome to our fourth class, and in today's class we're going to start modifying a little bit our variables. So if you remember last class we talked about the different kinds of variables that exist, and I show you that they work in a way that they can save information inside of Unity and on the game. And on today's class we're going to see how we can modify that information in order to change change how the variable is going to behave in the game. So let's, as an example, say that you have a car and it have a speed and you want to increase that speed. So you need to change the information inside of the variable speed. So in today's class, we're going to see how we can change that information. All right. So we have this class, Hello World. That's the class that I was using in our last class. I'm going to create a new script, okay, just so I don't keep using the same one every time. So I'm gonna delete this one, and I'm going to create a new C# script, and I'm gonna call it math operation. All right. So basically, you don't need to call it math operation. You can call whatever you want, and this is what you have as your template. So let's say that we want to change an information inside of an int variable. Okay, so a variable that saves number, and also will work the same way with float. Okay, both is gonna work very similar in the way that I'm going to teach you right now. So okay, let's say that we have one variable called an integer variable called number 1, an integer variable called number 2, and an int number 3. All right. Okay, so I forgot a semicolon right here, and I'm going to have another variable called result. And why it's called result? It's because we're going to make operations with those number 1, number 2, and number 3 classes variables, and then I'm going to save the result inside of the variable result. So this variable is going to be public because I want to see it on Unity editor. So I'm gonna put public int result. Okay, so first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to define an information inside of the variable 1, 2, and 3. We saw together on last class that we can put information inside of a variable right here, like equal 10. And we can also define right here inside of start. So I'm gonna say the name of the variable, in this case number 1, equal, or what I like to say, receive 10. Okay, so it means that I'm saving 10 inside of number 1, or I can say number 1 is receiving 10. This is not an operation, but it's cool to always remember that we can change completely the information inside of a variable just by putting the name of the variable, equal, and then the information that you want to save. In this case, it's an int, so I put a number. If it was a float, I would put a float number. If it was a string, I would put a string information. And every time that you want to replace an information inside of a variable, you need to put the same kind as the variable represents. And we also took a look on that on last class, right? So, okay, so I'm saying that number 1 is equal to 10. Number 2 is equal to, let's say, just 15. And number 3, it's going to be equal to 4. Okay, so first of all, the first operation that I'm going to show you guys today is that I can also say that result will be equal or will receive, and then I can, if I want to, put like a raw number, like 50 right here. I could put, because result is an integer variable as number 1, number 2, and number 3, and I could put like a raw information right here, but that's not what I want today. I want to put a operation, a math operation right here. So what I can do, it's like, for example, put number 1 plus number 2. Okay, so right now result is going to receive the result of the operation of number 1 plus number 2. And then Unity, when it's actually doing this operation right here, Unity will see which kind of information exists inside number 1 and which kind exists inside of number 2, and they're going to sum them together and save this information into result. Okay, so number 1 is equal to 10, number 2 is equal to 15, so result needs to be equal to 25. Okay, so let's see if that's true. I'm gonna save this math operation. I'm gonna go back to my Unity, and let me see. I removed the script, so that's why it's saying that it's missing a script. I'm gonna remove this component because the script does not exist anymore, and I'm going to put math operation inside of test. Okay, so result is 0. Of course, Unity always puts 0 if we don't put any information right here. As is empty, Unity automatically puts 0 in int variable. Okay, all right, so let's play the game and see what happens to result. 25. Yeah, that's correct, because result is receiving this operation, number 1 plus number 2. All right, and what about if I change the sign of plus and put a minus? So number 1 less number 2, or number 1 minus number 2. Let's see what happens to result. It should, of course, 10 minus 15 is 5. It should show 5 inside of Unity. Let's see if that what happens. Yep, negative 5. Yeah, let's see. 10, yeah, of course, 10 minus 15, it's minus 5. Yeah, that's correct. Okay, so we have plus, we have minus, and let's see other kind of operations that we have right here. We also have time or multiplication. So number 1 multiplied by number 2, 10 multiplied by 15. It should be 150 if I'm not wrong. Let's see what happens. Okay, go again. Yep, 150. That's correct. And also we have multiplication. We also have division. And then we're going to have a trouble right here. Okay, we are using integer variables, and integer variables do not save any decimal numbers. And of course, if we pick 10 and divide by 15, it will be minus than 1. It will be a decimal information, and that's not going to be saved inside of result, because result does not save decimal numbers. So we can't actually see the result inside of our variable result in this case. So what I'm going to do right here, just to test, I'm going to change the information inside of number 1, and I'm going to put something like maybe 30, because 30 divided by 15 is 2, and that's an integer number, and we can see inside of result. Okay, so if you try to put like an operation inside of the division and it's less or than 1, or it has some decimal numbers, Unity will just cut the decimal parts. So like if you have like 2.5, Unity will just show to you 2. It's not gonna show the 5 part, decimal part, because it's not a float variable. Of course, if we use float variables, you will have in the result the decimal part as well. Okay, so in this case, it only happens that way because we're using integer numbers, and as we saw in the last class, these numbers does not save decimal parts. All right, so I'm gonna try it again with number 1 divided by 15. Number 1 divided by number 2, in this case is 30 divided by 15, and it should be 2. So I'm gonna save this, and let's see what happens inside of Unity. Okay, play. 2. Yeah, that's correct. So okay, we have this basic math operation right here, plus, minus, multiplication, and division. And the thing is, you may think, oh, you didn't use number 3 until now, and that's correct. We're going to use it right now. You can actually to put more than one operation right here. I can put number 1 plus number 2 minus number 3 multiplied by number 1 divided by number 2. Okay, that's crazy. I could go on with a lot of operations right here. And you can always also see that I can repeat numbers. Okay, that's correct. So the thing is, Unity will try to do this operation as math does. So it's going to do division and multiplication first, and then after this is going to make plus and minus. So if I save right here, it will show up a result. I don't want to go and try to guess myself, but yeah, 37, that's the result of this operation. You can try at home, see if you got 37 as well. But the thing is, I can give priority to operations as the same way that we do in math, normal. So we can use and give priority to operations using parentheses. So if I use parentheses right here, open parentheses right here, Unity will do this operation first, and that will change the end result of this, because it's going to do this operation first, and then after multiplication, division, and this one. So I can even put another parenthesis right here, and then it's gonna do this, and then the multiplication, it's gonna sum, and then it's gonna divide by number 2. So you can see that it should change the end result. It was 37 before. Let's see what kind of number we have right now. 24. Yeah, that's completely a different number, because it goes with a different kind of priority with parentheses. Okay, you may think that maybe in math we have parentheses, brackets, and key brackets, but in this case, inside of Unity, we only use parentheses, and what's the inner parentheses have more priority of the outsiders parentheses that we have. All right, and you can also, in this kind of math, you can also use raw numbers. You don't need to use only variables. You can divide, instead of number 2, divide by 15. And it's going to work. It's gonna do the job for us. Okay, you don't need to use only variables. Of course, if you have variables, it's easier, because you can change the information right here, and you don't need to change the operation right here. Okay, easy. So yeah, let's try to do, let's say we have result right here, right? Let's say that I want to increment result. Okay, I'm gonna do a test right here. If I say that result is, let's say, I don't know, maybe I'm gonna leave as equal to 5, something like this, but it doesn't need to be equal to 5. We can change that later on Unity Editor. But let's say that I want to result to be equals to result plus 1. Oh, that's different, right? Because it's gonna keep saying that this is equal to this plus 1. So if you think this icon as equal, does not make sense. So that's why I like to say receive. So result is receiving, or in other words, I'm saving the information in result of the currently information that I already have, in this case 5 plus 1. So I'm saving in the result 6 in start, or any other kind of information plus 1 that I put inside of the Unity Editor. So if I go on Unity Editor and I say that result is equal, as I said in the script, equal 5, and play, I will have 6, because that's 5 plus 1. Okay, this kind of operation we call it as increment, and we have a better way of doing it. You don't need to do the same way as we did right here. We can, instead of writing result plus result plus result equal result plus 1, you can just go and do this. Okay, it does the same thing. So if I save, it's going to do the same thing as result equal result plus 1. It does the same job. So I'm gonna comment this line right here, so it doesn't actually execute this line, and only goes with this line. Okay, if you I think I said this before, but if you want to comment something, you just go slash, and then this turns into a comment inside of the script, and comments don't get executed. You can see comments right here and comments right here. Always when you want to comment, go slash, and you comment the line, or if you want to write a random comment, you just go here and comment something. Okay? All right, so yep, result plus, it needs to go from 5 to 6, because it's incrementing our variable 6. And of course, any kind of information, any kind of a value that I put right here is going to increment. Okay, because it's always going to increment the currently information plus 1. Okay, let's say that we want to have something like result minus 1, like this. instead of incrementing, I'm going to decrement the information. I'm going to comment again. We're going to have result minus minus. It's going to do the same job. So if I see if I have 10 right here, when I play the game, I will have 9. Okay? Because it's decrementing the variable. So it's the opposite of incrementing, decrement. And we have this. We always see something like this on scripts. Because usually programmers don't want to write this whole line right here. It's just faster to do something like this. So we just do something like this because it's faster and it's fancy and it's all awesome. And we also use this kind. Minus minus, plus plus. You always work the same way as this line works, but it's faster. Okay, but maybe you're thinking something like, okay, but what if I want to increment, but some information, some value that is bigger than 1? Let's say 5. Like result is equals to result plus 5. You may think, how I do it in a way that is short, is fancier. One way that you can do it's like plus, equal, and then you put the information that you want to increment. 5 in this case. If it was 7 here, it will be 7 right here. It does the same job. Okay, 10 right here. It would be 10 right here also. So of course I'm going to comment this. And we have result plus equal 10, or in other words, it's going to increment 10 units inside of the result variable. So I'm going to save this. And it's equal 10 right here, so it's going to increment 10, 20. And if it was, let's say, 56, and I play the game, I will have something like 66, because I was just incrementing 10 units inside of the variable. And the same way happens to minus. Result minus equal 10. It's going to decrement the variable by 10. 46. Or if I have 0, it will be negative 10. Okay, yeah. That's our shortened version of decrement and incrementation that we have inside of Unity. Okay, nice. Right now you see that we can change the variables right here, but we only saw the weight of the int. So, okay, I'm gonna leave this a little bit behind. I'm gonna delete these parts and I'm going to write a new variable. Okay, I'm going to write 2 string variables. So string name and string surname. All right? And I'm going to put a public right here, string full name. I'm going to call it full name. Okay, so let's say that name is equal to Bob. All right? And let's say that surname is equal to, let's see a cool surname that we have. Blender. Okay, Bob Blender. Like a superhero name. Alright, so his full name could be equal to name plus surname. Alright, so that's funny because it doesn't work the same way as int. It's not going to pick a result of letters, something like this. It's just going to combine. When you sum strings, you're actually combining strings, and we do this all the time. Okay, so we have Bob, we have Blender, and the full name will be Bob Blender. All right, but it's going to combine exactly equal. So I'm going to save this. And the result is going to change a little bit. Okay, full name. I'm going to play, and it will be Bob Blender. That's the name. Strange, right? You should have a space, but the space inside of C# is also like a character. So what I'm going to do is name plus space plus surname. Okay, so this, it's kind of a raw number, like 50 in the first example. But in this case, it's a string and it's just a space. I could put something like some other words right here, but I don't want. I just want to have space. So I'm going to save this and I'm going to go to Unity and we will have Bob Blender with space right now because we add this inside of the formula. Okay, cool. We also do this a lot when we are putting information in text, because sometimes we want to have points. And we also can do it with numbers. So let's say that I want to put name and I put 50. What will happen? Unity will go crazy, maybe? Let's see what will happen. We put something like 50. That's a number, that's not a text. And if we play, we'll have about 50. Whoa, that's strange. That's why, because Unity will actually turn this integer into a string. It will turn into a string because we're summing up string with this. So Unity will automatically recognize that we are summing up numbers with string, and we will turn the numbers into string. So yeah, that you can also have that inside of Unity. Okay, so yes, just a little bit of fun right here in the end. I would highly recommend you to do it yourself as well. Let's do something a little bit funner right now. I'm gonna put a variable right here. I'm gonna call it int result. Okay, and then in start, I'm not gonna go with the start. I'm just gonna put like result equals 10 right here, and I'm going to make result increment inside of update. You see that every single example that we did right now, it was inside of start, and it were only happening once in the first frame. But what happens if we make the same thing inside of update? It will do this math every single frame. And in my machine is almost like something like 90 times per second. So it will go high very fast. So I'm going to save this and let's see what happens if it does the math every single frame. Result equals 10. If I play, it will start increment. You see? That's the speed that my computer actually increments plus 1 and the frame, and it goes to infinite. It's never going to stop. What about if we increment 10? Let's see, every single frame, remember, it's gonna go 10 times faster. Okay, you see, that's pretty huge. And then you can start having fun with this. What about we say that result is equal to result multiplied by 2? Every single frame. And I'm going to change from 10, I'm going to put 1. So we can start with a low number right there. So 1. Wow, that's fast. It's just because it gets so fast that actually we can't see the numbers. That's really, really fast. One thing that we can do is put a debug right here and put result inside of debug. So we are going to print the result every single frame as well. So I'm going to save this. And okay, I put something wrong somewhere. Yeah, debug have a capital D. That's the problem. Let's go. All right. So if I play, it will give us an error pretty fast. Okay, let's see what kind of results we have right here. Oh, a bunch of zeros, because after it goes too high, it actually turns into 0. Okay, so we have 2. It starts with 1, but we have 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, and then it goes doubling the number until it's a very, very huge number, until it gets like a very huge number and then a negative number, because that's an error, is too big. Unity doesn't even recognize the number, and then it goes to 0. All right. Yes, that's our operation, and we're going to do operation a lot inside of game development because we are always trying to change a variable information inside of our game. So this operation is very, very important. Just remember, we can use variables, we can use raw numbers, but it's always one side receiving an operation of the other side. We have plus, minus, multiplication, and division. Of course, we have other kind of math operations, but then we need to install a different library right here. I'm not going to go with that because usually with sum, minus, multiplication, and division, that's enough to make a game. And yeah, just keep in mind with the concept of the variable and the concept of changing information inside of the variable, because basically we're going to do this all the time. Every time that we want to change like a life, number of hearts inside of the game, the speed of the player, maybe the number of items that the player have. We are always dealing with variables and its information. And the way that we deal with these variables is through operations, those operations that I showed to you today. It's easy, but just keep in mind that we use this a lot, and programming, it's a snowball effect in terms of acknowledgement. So just keep in mind that it needs to be clear for you. Okay, have fun with this, practice with different variables, and try to get to infinite numbers as I tried today to use the update. It's very fun. Okay, so I hope you guys like this class, and on the next class we're going to start going deeper in this knowledge of operation and variables. I hope you guys like. Thank you very much for this class. Bye bye.